I was just mentioning the fact that while we've got the mining index unchanged, on the industrial side, we did see some gains. And I'm slightly surprised by those gains on the eve of the constitutional referendum. Many people expressing the view that perhaps ahead of that referendum, people should be taking a break and watching the market. But certainly doesn't look like the bulk of investors out on the Zimbabwean market are taking that view. There seems to be optimism.
Definitely the optimism actually is up, and also the fact that the market had been trading low, I think, for the best part of the week since Monday. We saw the market trading negatively since Monday up to actually Thursday. So I think today it was a combination of the fact that the market was trying to recover some lost ground, and also the fact that I think from the perspective of the politicians, the sort of agreement by the three political parties that voters should vote yes for that constitution actually implies that there is agreement from the GNU perspective. So I think from an investor perspective, that agreement by the politicians seems to be pointing to a right direction.
So what's your call then on the outcome of that referendum, given that the main political parties seem to be agreeing that this referendum is a good thing and campaigning for it? There's no one who seems to be against it, apart from, of course, people who are sitting outside of that process.
I think it's good for the country, it's good for the market. What will actually determine the actual outcome of that event is whether the voting itself will take place in a normal setup where there will be no skirmishes, no violence.
Yeah.
That is what people are actually looking out for, that if the voting process takes place normally without incidents of political violence, then that will be an endorsement that the political environment is actually turned around the corner, because that is the most worrying sector at the moment as far as investments in the country are concerned. People are worried that the investment is not level enough, or the environment is not level enough. So people are actually going to look out for whether there will be any incidents of skirmishes during the voting processes. Otherwise, the outcome, we are largely anticipating a yes vote to the Constitution.
Absolutely. I must say it surprises me to see ZANU-PF as well as MDC working together and talking about the same thing and saying this is a good thing, let's get it going. So it's very likely then that that's going to be approved. And to celebrate that, we've got the industrial index up 1.4% for the week. What about next week? What are we likely to see if we anticipate then that Hereford is going to carry the day?
Well, we are actually anticipating an instance-free voting process, and normally would expect the market to react positively to that. Also added to the fact that beyond besides the constitutional voting, the earnings season is also upon us. We have seen some numbers coming through from several counters, and the numbers have been quite positive.
Yeah.
And as a result, we have seen some counters actually trading positively as a result. So next week we expect some of the financial counters and other big counters on the market to release their results. So the combination of the outcome of the constitutional voting and those earnings, we expect the market to actually trade positively next week.
If you were a speculator anymore, wouldn't you be looking at a counter like Afrisan? At their AGM today, they reported revenue flat for the 4 months to January, but operating costs were down 4%, and you've got an EBITDA margin of 12%. Now, this, of course, ahead of the United Nations World Tourism Organization conference, which is coming to the Victoria Falls. I would imagine you would be buying this stock ahead of that conference.
Well, the CEO actually pointed that the UN WTO General Assembly is only going to be a one-day event or several days event, but in terms of the actual impact for this year, it's actually going to be minimal. They are expecting an inflow of around 600 to 800 delegates for that conference. So if those people are shared amongst the numerous hoteliers that we have in the country, really per individual, it's not going to be much. But going forward, what is going to impress us is the opportunities for the hoteliers and the country to market itself.
Yeah.
Because that's where the real benefits are actually going to be derived, whereby we're saying these delegates are coming from countries that have had a negative perception of the country. So if they have an opportunity to be in the country and sample the pleasures that Zimbabwe has to offer, we are hoping that when they go back, they are going to actually spread the good news to their fellow countrymen. And perhaps going forward, 2014 going forward, we would expect that the perception on the country would actually improve. But as of this year, the impact will be minimal. I think the real impact will be felt post the event itself.
Absolutely. That is, of course, if there's good news to report when they come in and see what's on the ground practically. But anymore, what's your call then for hotel-related counters?
Well, for African Sun, yes, we have seen them coming, actually turning the corner. They reported a jump in profitability for the high end. Last year, we saw them posting a bottom line of around 2 million. And with the numbers that they've shown today, it's quite positive, despite the stagnation in the top line. The fact that they have been able to reduce their costs and actually improve on their EBITDA margins, it's quite positive. That actually means that the profit is going to be improving as we go forward. But then again, there's a worry that there's going to be elections in this country sometime in a few months, and the post-election environment will be very sensitive especially for hospitality sector, because if there's going to be an instance of violence, then that sector is quite sensitive to be investing in post the election. So we will actually be watching what the developments on the ground. But at the moment, it's looking quite positive.